questions are important for 8 marks. If you remember, there are 3 8 marks questions, and in that 3 8 marks questions, one is from organic chemistry. And one of the questions that can be asked is, in that 8 marks question, they'll divide into 4 parts, okay? And in each part, they will be asking directly, explain Wood's reaction or explain Colway's reaction. You have to write the statement for it. It's taking an example, you have to explain how exactly that reaction happens. So when it comes to boards, named reactions, especially in the preparation and in the chemical properties, we are going to see a lot of them. At that point also I'll mention, but you please make a note side anywhere in your notebook or something. 8 marks question will come from this chapter. Not all of them, at least 1 or 2 reactions from this chapter will appear in that. And when it comes to mains also, same thing. When it comes to named reactions, there are some exceptional cases in the reactions itself and their mechanisms. So they are important when it comes to mains or advanced. So keep in mind, for boards, the reactions as it is, the statement, example are important. When it comes to the main, the same reactions along with mechanisms, what is the initiator, how exactly the reaction is moving forward, those steps are important when it comes to mains. Okay. So remember, not entirely all 4 parts of 8 marks questions are coming. At least 1 or 2 will come from this particular chapter. Okay. So let's start today's class. In the last class, not in the last class, when we started organic chemistry, we have started the classification of organic compounds. And in that, aliphatic organic compounds. And in that aliphatic, one second, I'll just admit people. Yeah. When it comes to aliphatic organic compounds, we have 2 types, right? Saturated and unsaturated. So where does this alkane falls? They fall under saturated aliphatic compounds, because all of the bonds are carbon-carbon single bonds only. When it have unsaturated, you have carbon-carbon double bond and carbon-carbon triple bond. So in this particular chapter, we are going to concentrate only on saturated organic compounds, that is alkanes. So if you start with alkanes, the general formula you might have learned, already. The general formula will be CnH2n plus 2. So what is the type of hybridization in alkanes? It will be sp3 hybridization, and each unit will be a tetrahedral unit. A tetrahedral unit. Okay, so what is the bond angle in sp3 hybridization? 109.5 degrees. So this is the bond angle. And when it comes to carbon-carbon bond and carbon-hydrogen bond, bond length will be something like this: 1.54 angstroms and 1.112 angstrom unit. And bond dissociation energy, the amount of energy required to break either carbon-carbon bond or carbon-hydrogen bond, will have values something like this. For carbon-carbon, you have 83 kilocalories per mole, and for carbon-hydrogen bond, you have 99 kilocalories per mole. Most importantly, you should know the bond lengths. What is exactly for carbon-carbon single bond and carbon-hydrogen bond. Okay, so so when it comes to alkanes, remember that each of the carbon-carbon will be a singly bonded, no double bonds or triple bonds, and their bond length will be 1.54 angstrom units. whereas carbon hydrogen, obviously only single bond is possible and its bond length will be 1.112 angstrom units. So in this particular chapter, what is the flow of the topic means we will be learning about how exactly these alkanes are prepared, and once they are prepared, are there any exceptions to those methods? And after that, we will be seeing its properties, both physical and chemicals, we are gonna cover. So let's start. But before properties, let's see some more thing. What is a tetrahedral unit? Yes, CH bond is stronger than CC bond. Why? Because check the atomic sizes. Carbon are of same. Carbon and hydrogen are different, and hydrogen is much smaller. So the nuclear distance will be less in carbon hydrogen bond, right? Because of that, more energy is required for this. Tetrahedral unit means something like this. Each corners of a tetrahedron. If you take methane, if you take methane, one second. So this is methane, sp3 hybridization, and in that sp3 hybridization, all the four hydrogen atoms are towards the four corners of a tetrahedron. So this is a tetrahedron. Even you have higher alkanes also. If it is bonded to carbon, each carbon bonded to four other bonds, be it hydrogen or carbon, something like that, it will be a tetrahedral arrangement only. Okay, so this is what a tetrahedron is, and the bond angle, as usual, 109.5 degrees. Okay, same thing. And yeah, coming to the bond energy, here we are having a greater bond energy for carbon and hydrogen. Why? Because if you see, if this is carbon's atomic number is 6 and hydrogen's atomic number Z is 1, right? You can see the bond length also. Carbon and hydrogens are very near to each other, which means the electrons are bonded much strongly. That's why more energy is required to break carbon hydrogen bond than it does for carbon carbon bond. Okay, that's the size, the bond length, or the distance between the two nuclei can be used to explain the greater bond energy or bond dissociation energy for carbon and hydrogen. Okay, all right. Mm, okay, so before we go into preparation and properties, let's cover one more point. This part we have already seen, but in the textbook they have given the order. Okay, so when you are reading the textbook, follow the same order. The nomenclature of alkanes. Nomenclature part, we have done a lot of classes on this, so you can just revise that notes. But you know, right, the root word. So if you know that, you can do it. But the important part is isomerism. Isomerism also in the textbook they have covered separately, but we have all together combined seen in starting nomenclature part. So when it comes to isomerism, especially for alkanes, there are only two types of isomerisms observed. First one is structural isomerism, and in that only chain isomerism is possible. Why? Because when it comes to pure hydrocarbons without any substituents and all, only the carbon number in the main chain we can vary and write different structural isomers. Okay. Whereas when it comes to the conformational, the spatial arrangement of atoms, conformational, we have conformational isomerism. In conformational isomerism, what are the type of isomers possible? Is it eclipsed? Like what is the type we end up having? We have eclipsed staggered mostly. In some examples, not some, almost all of them have Gauche forms. So only two types of isomerism is possible for alkanes. If you have substituents, we can show functional isomerism, something like that. But we are sticking to the pure hydrocarbons only, where we can vary the number of hydrocarbons in the given parent chain and end up having more than one arrangement. So let's take a simple example. So I'll ask, what is the first or minimum number of carbons required to show chain isomerism in alkenes? Anyone? What is the minimum number of carbons required to show chain isomerism? Yes, very good. It will be 4. Why? Because carbon, all 4 carbons in one chain, we call it as, in the same chain, we call it as N-butane. If one carbon is less, we call it as isobutane. So the minimum number of carbon structural isomerism, especially chain isomerism. One second. All right. One second. I'll shift the network. It is showing it is unstable. Give me 1 second. Okay. So this is chain isomerism, same molecular formula but different arrangement of atoms. If you take pentane, there are more than 2 isomers possible, all 5 carbons in a single chain called as N-pentane. 1 carbon less, we call it as isopentane. If 2 carbons less, then we call it as neopentane. So starting with carbon number 4, starting with butane, we will observe chain isomerism, and depending on the number of carbons less in the parent chain, we have iso and neo isomers. Now coming to the conformational isomerism. When it comes to conformational isomerism, we will be talking about the different spatial arrangement. I mean that only for groups or molecules having carbon-carbon single bond only. Why? Because there will be free rotation around carbon-carbon bond, and because of that we end up in different spatial arrangements. Because of that we end up in different spatial arrangement. That was the main criteria for any given compound to show conformational isomerism. As long as you have carbon-carbon single bond, sigma bond especially, there can be free rotation around this carbon-carbon sigma bond. So if you take a simple example, ethane. Again, there is also one important criteria for this conformational isomerism. Does methane show conformational isomerism? If not, why? Does methane show conformational isomerism? Anyone? If yes, why? And if no, why? You can tell me the reason also. No, only 1 carbon is there. We require at least 3 sigma bonds simultaneously, so that around any one of them we can rotate. And that too, only 1 carbon is there in methane, only 2 such sigma bonds are available. That's the reason why methane cannot show conformational isomerism. Right. Conformational isomerism. So if we take ethane, there are 2 carbons around carbon-carbon single bond. We can rotate and we can have more than one spatial arrangement. Let's start with Newman projections. So friend carbon will be a dot, hydrogen, 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 and the rare carbon will be a circle. And if the rare carbons hydrogens are properly aligned with the friend carbons, we have eclipsed conformer. If it is at maximum distance possible, I mean as far as away, then we have staggered form. So which is more stable, staggered form or eclipsed form? When it comes to stability, staggered form more stable or eclipsed form more stable, and the reason for it, can anyone tell? All right, staggered form is more stable. Very good. Staggered form is more stable. Why? Because the electron clouds are aligned when it comes to eclipsed form, right? Because of that, there will be interelectronic repulsions. If the repulsions are more, the energy of the molecule will be more. Because of that, it will be less stable. So when it comes to the stability, staggered form is more stable than eclipsed form. And how gauche form will appear, and partially and fully eclipsed form, all those things we have learned in butane. Those energy profile diagrams and all we have already seen. But since we are in the chapter of alkanes, we are just making a note what are the types of isomerisms possible. First thing is chain isomerism, depending on the number of carbons in the parent chain. And the second thing is conformational isomerism, same molecular formula but different spatial arrangement of atoms led to. What does the what is the criteria to show conformational isomerism? Three consecutive. You have three consecutive sigma bonds, of which one should be carbon carbon, something like this. Carbon carbon sigma bond create, and there has to be two more sigma bonds, some X or some Y. Then only we can have different spatial arrangement around this first carbon and second carbon by rotating. Three consecutive or three continuous sigma bonds should be there. Torsional strain is nothing but when we are rotating dihedral angle. This angle, okay, that is dihedral angle. Strain is nothing but yeah, when we are, excuse me, is my voice breaking? Because it's showing internet is unstable. Hello.
No, ma'am, it's
Yeah, yeah. You
audible.
are asking
Ma'am,
something? Yes.
yes, ma'am, in ethane also there are three sigma bonds, right? Then why doesn't it show confirmation isomerism?
In methane, it is something like this. Only two. H,
Ma'am,
H.
ethane, ma'am.
This is ethane only, na? Are talking about ethene?
Ethane, ma'am.
This is ethane only.
Okay, okay,
One,
sorry.
yeah, ethane only. You mistook it. This is ethane. Okay. Yeah. So three sigma bonds should be there. There should not be rigidity. The pi bonds, the alkenes and alkanes have pi bonds and they provide rigidity. That's why conformational isomerism is not observed in alkenes and alkynes. Okay. So only for alkanes, that too starting with ethane, we can observe conformational isomerism. So this part till this part, all these things you are familiar with. Now we are going to start a new part, that is preparation of alkanes. Write everything down carefully because these are important both for boards and mains. Whatever the competitive exam you take, when it comes to organic chemistry, the named reactions, any reaction which has a specific name given by a scientist or some name to it, that is very important. Directly, they will give you the equation without any doubt, note alterations and all. They just directly give you the question. So it's a plus point when it comes to organic chemistry. If you are thorough with the named reactions, you can attempt both for boats and mains for that part concern. So carefully write everything down. Write everything down. Yeah, and follow thoroughly. And remember, some tens, so many reactions will come in this chapter. Not only in this chapter, alkanes, alkenes, alkynes combined. So make sure you are having constant revision. Otherwise, you will forget. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Achha, 1 second. Name all the preparation method first. Yes, I will name all of them. Yeah, torsional strain. Torsional strain, Abhijit was asking. Torsional strain is nothing but when we are trying to rotate, we are trying to, let's say, if it is in eclipsed form, there is zero dihedral angle, right? Now, when we are trying to rotate it to some angle, say 60 degrees over here, you can see the electronic repulsions are decreased. When it was in the eclipsed form, because of the alignment of these electron clouds, there were repulsions, right? The molecule was not stable. There is some strain to it. So when we are trying to rotate it, we are decreasing that strain by increasing the space between the electron clouds. So if that strain is present in the eclipsed form, we call it as torsional strain in simple words. And is it a ring strain? Yes, yeah, ring strain only. Simple word, yes, ring strain can be treated same as torsional strain, definitely. Definitely. Right. So I'll just initially name all the preparation methods. After that, we can see one by one. So first thing is by hydrogenation of unsaturated hydrocarbons, both alkenes and alkynes. Unsaturated hydrocarbons. Unsaturated hydrocarbons. Alkenes and alkynes. Second will be by the reduction of alkyl halides. Right, I'll number them. By reduction of alkyl halides. Third thing will be in reduction of alkyl halides, depending on the catalyst we are using, we have different names. Those names and all we will cover. Prepare alkanes. So by reduction of alkyl halides, okay, let me name them, no problem. Woods reaction, WRTZ. Woods reaction. Next one will be Franklin reaction. Franklin reaction. Corey-House synthesis. Decarboxylation reaction. Decarboxylation reaction. Coal-based electrolysis method. Coal-based electrolysis method. by reduction of alcohols, aldehydes, ketones, and carboxylic acids using red phosphorus and hydrogen iodide. Next, Wolff-Kishner reduction. Wolff-Kishner reduction. Clemenson's reduction. Clemenson's reduction. Using Grignard reagents.
Excuse me,
Using Grignard reagents. Yes, ma.
in the 7 point, what is after alcohols?
Alcohols, aldehydes. Sorry. Aldehydes. Aldehydes. Aldehydes, ketones, and carboxylic acid using red phosphorus and hydrogen iodide. Eighth is Wolff-Kishner reduction, Clemenson's reduction, and then using Grignard reagents. Grignard reagents are very important for mains. Okay, they give different uh, different reagents that on the arrow they won't mention what it is, but we have to recognize the mechanism and we have to write the product. Using Grignard reagents are very important for mains and other competitive exams. Wood's reaction, coal-based electrolysis, decarboxylation for boats. I'll mark them, but first let's just write down. Preparation using yeah. Especially this last one is specific, not for all alkanes. Methane. Why there is specifically for methane, you will understand once we actually start learning about this preparation method. So the last one will be preparation of methane. Preparation of methane from carbides. Preparation of methane from carbides. So I'll mark here itself so that everything will be in one place. So this is for boats. Boats. One more. Boats. So these questions they ask frequently in boats. When it comes to mains, mostly they will ask from Grignard reagents. Others are also important. Wood's reaction especially more important for boats. Okay. Just mark them so that you won't forget when you are revising. Anvi. Okay. So in today's class, we'll start with the first one, hydrogenation of alkenes and alkynes. Then one by one, we will see. There are some parts where the reaction mechanisms are also included. In some equation, they didn't give. But anyway, we will see. Yes, in the textbook and all, only few methods as we have mentioned, till Kolbe's method only. 45 methods only they gave in the textbook. So that's why few questions only they'll ask in the boards. But for mains and all, they'll ask more than that. So I am referring to O.P. Tandon for this alkenes chapter. Wherever mechanisms are required, I am using Singh. So I'll tell you the books I'm following so that you can revise. I'm using both O.P. Tandon and Singh. Mostly I'll use O.P. Tandon. Only for mechanism related part I'll use Singh. And for practice questions I'll use Singh. But mostly I'm referring for O.P. Tandon. Those who have books, when we are revising, go through them also. Much more details you'll get. Or else following the notes will be sufficient. Okay. So let's start with the first method, that is by hydrogenation. By one second. By hydrogenation of unsaturated hydrocarbons. Unsaturated hydrocarbons. There are two important points to note down in unsaturated hydrocarbons. Why? Because depending upon the catalyst, we have different temperatures. So let's write the statements, and I will mention the temperatures also. Alkanes are prepared from alkenes and alkynes by heating them with hydrogen, in presence of a catalyst. Catalyst is very important. Why? Because they will initiate and also they will increase the speed of the reaction. So catalyst is very important when we are writing hydrogenation of unsaturated hydrocarbons. So let's see. So CnH2n, this is an alkene, right? Mostly we will be using nickel, and we are using nickel, we need to heat it, and that temperature is specific, that is around 473 to 573 Kelvin. So around this temperature, if we heat it, we end up getting alkane CnH2n plus 2. Whereas we can even use platinum adsorbed over activated carbon or activated charcoal, or palladium also, same thing. When we are using these two, room temperature, the reaction temperature, room temperature will be sufficient. Only thing is, if you are mentioning nickel in the reaction, make sure you are using the symbol delta, so that it will cover up the temperature, the higher temperature that we require to heat it. Or else, if you are using platinum or palladium, just simply mentioning them on the equation, on the reaction arrow will be sufficient. So let's say CnH2n minus 2. This is an alkyne, right? So you have to write something like this: nickel on heating, or platinum or palladium. So any one of the catalyst will be applicable to this reaction, plus H2 plus 2H2. So we end up having CnH2n plus 2. So this is an alkane again. So what is the important point to note down? When we are using nickel as a catalyst, higher temperatures are necessary. When we are using platinum or palladium, room temperature will be sufficient, so no need to specify the symbol delta. For nickel, make sure you are mentioning it. So let's take a very simple example. So CH2 double bond CH2. This is ethene, right? So ethene on heating with hydrogen, either in presence of nickel or platinum or palladium, we end up having CH3, CH3. So this is ethane. This is ethane. If you take propene, CH3, CH, double bond CH2 plus H2. This is propene. Again, either in presence of nickel or platinum or palladium, we have propane, CH3, CH2, CH3. So, can methane be prepared by this method, ma? Can anyone tell me, can methane be prepared by this one? At room temperature, how does the bond break? It's not like bond, pi bond. The catalyst, we have the catalyst, right? So they will form an intermediate with our alkene. So the mechanism will be there. So it's not like direct breaking, some intermediates will be there. Absorbed, not absorbed, adsorbed, AD. It's something like this. So if this is a carbon that is activated charcoal, they have some pores on it, okay? Small pores will be there, and on those pores we will make sure that these small atoms of platinum or palladium, very nano-sized particles, will be placed in those pores. They are just like the active sites. In those active sites, the reaction will happen. It's not absorbed, it's adsorbed, adsorbed, surface phenomena. So if this is a charcoal surface, you can see the ridges, right? In these ridges, our catalyst will be there, and that catalyst will interact with the reactants. Okay, it's adsorbed, not absorbed. AB is bulk phenomena, just like the sponge absorbing water is different, whereas adsorbed, D Delhi, AD absorbed is different. Okay, there will be a mechanism. It's not like simple breakage of bond on formation of bond. The catalyst will form an intermediate, but in the end it won't appear. So just simply it will facilitate the conversion of alkene to alkane. Okay, so that is one thing. Can methane be prepared? Is there any unsaturated compound available for preparing methane? Anyone? Can methane be prepared by this hydrogenation?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Right. Methane cannot be prepared. So please make a note. Methane cannot be prepared by this method. Why? Because there is no unsaturated compound available with one carbon, because it's a condition, right? Carbon-carbon double bond requires minimum 2 carbon atoms. That's the reason why we cannot prepare methane from unsaturated hydrocarbons. So this is also one of the reason why in the last preparation methods, specifically for methane, we have seen. So that is one of the reason. Not only this method, in upcoming methods also we will see this exception. Preparation of methane is not possible during these reactions. So yeah, keep that in mind. And at each point, the reason will change. So that part you have to make a note. All right. So this is hydrogenation. Hydrogenation means addition of hydrogen happening in presence of a catalyst. And the catalyst are nickel, platinum, and palladium. Even this reaction can be asked for both. It is very simple. So you just have to recognize what is what. Simple addition of hydrogen to unsaturated carbons will give us alkanes. That's it. So this is by far the simplest method for preparation of alkanes. Now let's go for the next one. By reduction of alkyl halides, very important part. By reduction of alkyl halides. By reduction of alkyl halides, we have named reactions. In this reduction of alkyl halides, there are reactions without any specific name. Simply depending upon the reagent that we are using, they are different. So let's see the statement for this reduction of alkyl halides. Alkyl halides on reduction with nascent hydrogen. Please underline nascent hydrogen. On reduction with nascent hydrogen, gives alkanes. So let's see this more platinum. Whenever platinum or palladium is used, is it always room temperature? Yes, for both platinum and palladium, the temperature is room temperature only. Only for nickel, we have to heat it to higher temperatures, greater than 200 centigrade. So alkyl halide, Rx. R is for alkyl group and X is for halide. And nascent oxygen will be freshly prepared. Sorry, nascent hydrogen means a single hydrogen atom. It will be very, very, very unstable. That's the reason why we are mentioning it in the square bracket. It's like an intermediate. It is very reactive and highly unstable. So this is nascent hydrogen. And depending on this nascent hydrogen preparation, we have more than one set of reactions under this category. We will group all of them together. So you'll have halogen replaced with hydrogen. Hydrogen halide will be removed, and we have alkane. RH plus HX. So this is alkane at the end. So what will happen? Nascent hydrogen. Is nascent hydrogen a free radical? It's not like free radical. Yes, you can consider it. It's not like, yeah, only one hydrogen, only one electron will be there. Yes, you can treat it, but we won't categorize it under free radical. It's a hydrogen atom, right? Radicals or for groups with unpaired electron. It's just a hydrogen atom, right? Its existence is H2, which is a more stable form. If it is in hydrogen atom, this will be called as nascent hydrogen. Same for oxygen also. It exists as O2 when you are freshly preparing it like a single atomic level oxygen. It is called as nascent oxygen. It will be highly reactive. We won't call it free radical, but yeah, there will be unpaired electron or electrons, depending on the valency, readily available for the reaction to proceed forward. What makes it unstable? Valency. There are no octet electrons around it, right? In hydrogen, there is no helium configuration. In oxygen also, there is no octet configuration. There are two unpaired valence electrons. Yeah, oxygen. Its valency still 2 is not satisfied. It's still 1s2, 2s2, 2p4. It requires 2 more electrons to become octet, 2s2, 2p6. It's unstable because its valency is not satisfied. Okay. So yeah, they are very highly unstable, highly reactive, and they will proceed our reaction forward by converting alkyl halide into alkane by removing the halogen from our reactant. So how exactly is this nascent hydrogen produced? There are a lot of reagents available. So I'll group all of them together, and one by one we will write the reactions later. So reagents for production of nascent hydrogen. Reagent for the production of nascent hydrogen. So I'll group all of them together. At the end, we will try to write each equation. Okay. So most commonly utilized one with zinc in presence of dilute HCl, or zinc along with acetic acid, CH3COOH, or zinc with sodium hydroxide, NaOH, or a different one, zinc copper couple, means two metals are used. Zinc copper couple in ethanol, that is alcohol, C2H5OH. So in this, the important part is this one. You will come across more about zinc along with dilute HCl. Okay. Next one, we have red phosphorus and hydrogen iodide. Heating red phosphorus along with hydrogen iodide, and here also, since we are talking about heating, the temperature should be specified, that is around 420 Kelvin. Next, lithium aluminum hydrate. Since we are talking about reduction, this lithium aluminum hydrate can also be utilized, and this will be in presence of ether. And this particular lithium aluminum hydrate, LiAlH4, is specific only for reduction of primary and secondary alkyl halides. This is specific. Tertiary alkyl halides cannot be reduced using lithium aluminum halide. Why? Means it will produce alkenes. When we are writing the specific reaction, we will make a note of this again. So how can we do for tertiary alkyl halides then? So we can use sodium borate, borohydride, NaBH4, along with ethanol, that is C2H5OH. And this is again specifically for secondary and tertiary alkyl halides only. So lithium aluminum hydride is for primary and secondary. For secondary and tertiary alkyl halides, we require bracketed part. Okay. Only for reduction of primary and secondary alkyl halides. This one is only for reduction of primary and secondary alkyl halides. And NaBH4, sodium borohydride, in presence of ethanol, is specifically for secondary and tertiary alkyl halides. Primary cannot be reduced using NaBH4. Okay. Now, next part. This is somewhat different from the other reagents that you have seen. So you can expect this in mains. This part is important for mains. What is TPH? So TPH is triphenyl tin hydride, that is PH3SNH. So triphenyl tin hydride. So what's the speciality of this triphenyl tin hydride? Means all primary, secondary and tertiary alkyl halides can be reduced using this TPH. So that's the speciality of TPH. This TPH can be utilized for reduction of all primary, secondary and tertiary alkyl halides. So what sort of questions they will ask from this? Means they will give you the reaction, and in the reaction they'll specify the type of reagent they are using on the arrow mark. So we have to cross check, especially in point 3, 4 and 5, what type of halide they have given, whether it is possible for reduction or not. So that part we have to take it. So these are the important reagents that we are going to use to reduce alkyl halides by the production of nascent hydrogen from these reagents. Okay, so I hope you are noting them all. We will try to write the reactions involving each of the reagents. One by one each we will write. For so lithium aluminum hydride, we will write why tertiary halides cannot be reduced, and then we will move on to the next part. Okay, so let's start one by one.
Ma'am, can you scroll up once?
Yeah, one second. Okay. I'll wait a minute or so. You please note down and then we can move on. Uh-huh.
Done, ma'am.
All right. So let's start writing equations for each of the reagent, one example each. We add acyl halides and one of these reagent for the production of alkene. Alkyl halides acyl halides we will deal later. As of now, alkyl halides plus these any one of these reagent will give us alkanes definitely. Alkyl, not acyl, it's alkyl. Okay. Acyl halides can be used, but they are under different named reaction. Okay, so CH3, yeah, and one more important note over here. Not all of them are prepared using these alkyl halides. Mostly they'll go for higher ones. Let's say iodides and bromides. Okay, let's use exceptional fluorides only. Alkyl fluorides cannot be reduced by any one of these reagent. In the textbook they gave fluorides only. Let's go with the fluorides. Apart from that we can use other halides. Alkyl fluorides. Best and easy simple, safe side is always using bromides and iodide for any of these alkyl halides reaction. So I'll start with iodide. On in presence of zinc plus dilute HCl or zinc plus acetic acid COOH, we have something like this. You have two nascent hydrogens produced, CH4 we have, and from this, one of the iodide will form hydrogen iodide. So methyl iodide, on reduction gives us methane, and the iodide will be lost as hydrogen iodide. Yes, methane can be produced in this reaction. Reason for the note point, probably the bond dissociation energies I'm thinking. Fluorine is more electronegative, right? So the removal of fluorine might be a difficult when compared to the other halides. That's the reason we can give actually. Yes, methane can be produced in this reduction part using methyl halides. All right. So all other zinc related reagents can be done in the same way. Let's see for the other part. CH3, CH2, Br. Red phosphorus reaction will be a little bit different. Red phosphorus, we are heating in presence of hydrogen iodide, right? The course of the reaction will be something like this. Anyway, we will get a proper alkane. The halide, which is initially part of our alkyl halide, will be removed as HBr. The iodine H2 will be, iodide will be oxidized to I2. So this whatever H required to remove bromide as hydrogen bromide is coming from this Hi part, and the iodide will be oxidized to I2. So remember, this is somewhat different. The actual iodide Hi is converted into iodine. This sort of thing never occurred in previous reactions, but it will be seen with red phosphorus and hydrogen iodide reagent. And please mention the temperature, that is heating to 420 Kelvin. So we have ethyl bromide on heating with hydrogen iodide in presence of red phosphorus. We have ethane. Bromine will be removed as hydrogen bromide, and the reagent, that is hydrogen iodide, will be oxidized to iodine gas. And what exactly is red phosphorus is doing means it helps in the removal of this iodine gas at the end. Okay, next part. The reaction with red phosphorus is not balanced. Yes, we can balance it. 2I2, so 2Hi, 2CH3. Yeah, you can twice the reactants. We can have 2CH3Br, 2Hi. You'll have 2 and 2 over here. That's it. How will they ask the question for the reaction in case of ethyl bromide? Directly, they will, same thing. They will mention the reagents. We have to find out what is the product. Mostly, they won't give blanks or something like that. Directly, you can guess the product, that is alkane part. That's it. It will be direct only. Okay. Now, next one. So one part heating red phosphorus is lithium aluminum hydride. So if you take lithium aluminum hydride, so 4Rx LiAlH4. So all the 4 hydrogens, whatever we have in presence of ether, organic solvent, will be replaced. So LiAlH4. So 4 hydrogens from the lithium aluminum hydride will be removed as 4 will be combining with halides part, so that we have 4 such alkanes in the product side. So we have alkyl halide, and here we have alkane. So all the 4 hydrogens will be removed from lithium aluminum hydride, and we end up having lithium aluminum halide. This X can be any chlorine, bromine, iodine, anything like that. And remember, it is only for primary and secondary alkyl halides. Primary and secondary alkyl halides only. If you take tertiary alkyl halides, your reaction will be something like this. This is tertiary, right? Tertiary butyl chloride. If you take this and you heat it in presence of lithium aluminum hydride, you have alkene double bond CH2 plus HCl. That's the reason why lithium aluminum hydride cannot be utilized to reduce tertiary halide. This is tertiary butyl. This is tertiary halide. So this is not our main important product, right? We required alkane, not alkene. That's the reason why lithium aluminum hydride is only specific for primary and secondary alkyl halides only. Only for primary and secondary alkyl halides, we use lithium aluminum hydrides. So how can we rectify this situation? So we can rectify this situation by utilizing TPH or sodium boron hydride. So let's take any one of them. So carbon, 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 CH3, 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 Cl. So we can use 2 of them, NaBH4 or TPH, triphenyl tin hydride, so that we end up having tertiary tertiary alkane, that is HCl will be removed. So this is tertiary butyl chloride and this is tertiary butane. So how did we rectify the situation? For tertiary halides were ending up as alkenes after reduction with lithium aluminum hydride. That's why we are using different reagent, that is sodium boron hydride or triphenyl tin hydride. By using any of them, we can convert our tertiary alkyl halide to tertiary alkanes. Here remember that NaBH4 again is for secondary and tertiary alkyl halides only, whereas TPH is common for primary, secondary and tertiary. All three of them can be reduced using this TPH. So just make a note somewhere, because we have used both the reagents on the same in the same reaction, that doesn't mean both of them have same selectivity. They have different. NaBH4 is specifically for secondary and tertiary, whereas TPH is for all three types, primary, secondary and tertiary alkyl halides can be reduced. So just make a note of them. Why? Because they will ask these kinds of exceptions only in the reactions part in the exams. So they'll give you the reagent and they will give you the alkyl halide. So first check whether it is primary, secondary or tertiary. So accordingly, you can you can find out the product. So here you have lithium aluminum hydride specifically for secondary and tertiary. So all three of them, just make a note at the same place so that you can remember how these three are reacting differently towards different types of alkyl halides. Okay. What happened? Okay. Where we have used lithium aluminum halide for tertiary. This is tertiary, right? Alkyl halide, that reaction for where we have used lithium for tertiary, that reaction doesn't happen, right? Reaction will happen. This is tertiary halide only here in this part. This is tertiary halide only, but the reactant that we end up is alkene, not the alkane. That's why it is not used for reduction of primary and secondary. Reaction will happen, but not the production of alkane is our result. Some other reactant, some other product is produced. Okay, that's the difference. Okay, you were asking about what is the role of ethanol and ether in those respective examples? They act as a medium. They just act as a medium. Like they are so all of them are happening in the solution state or something like that. They act as a solvent. They just a medium for the reaction to happen. That's it. Please reactant tertiary halide. See, the thing is, once again, please listen carefully. Lithium aluminum halide does react with all three of them, primary, secondary and tertiary halide. But the type of product formed is not of our interest, especially in alkanes part. We require only alkanes, not alkenes. That's the reason why lithium aluminum halide lithium aluminum hydride will not be utilized as a reagent for the reduction of tertiary alkyl halides. The reason is alkene will be formed. This is not our required reaction. To rectify that, we will be using sodium boron hydride or TPH, triphenyl tin hydride. Lithium aluminum hydride reacts with tertiary halide and gives alkenes. That's the part you should remember. Okay. Okay. So these are all these reactions are about the different types of reagent. There is one more set of reagent for alkyl halides which we haven't mentioned. Using TPH along with alkane, what is the other product form? It's the same. Halide will be removed with the hydrogen coming from this tin hydride. So hydrogen of this triphenyl tin hydride will be entering into reacting or replacing the chlorine part in the alkyl halide, and this chlorine goes and substitutes on the TPH. End up having TPX, triphenyl tin halide, something like that. You will get just the replacement will happen. Okay. Here you might having PH3SNH for TPH. Okay. So there is also one more method for these alkyl halides. That is, we can directly perform the reduction reaction for these alkyl halides using nickel or platinum or palladium catalyst. And here we require heating, so that we end up having alkane and HX will be lost. So that is, the statement will be something like this. 1 second. Alkyl halides can be reduced to alkanes by heating with hydrogen in presence of nickel or platinum or palladium, any one of these catalysts. So this reagent we have not included, but just you can make a note. So any one of the catalysts, nickel or platinum or palladium, on heating you'll get CH4 plus HI. Since we are talking about reduction, this can also be done. So even NaBH4 reacts with primary alkyl halide, but we don't get alkane part. Yes, probably some different product will be formed, not alkane. That's where we are including these exceptions. Definitely we can say that. So yeah, please make note of these reduction of alkyl halides also. Here we are not using any of the specific reagent that we have used for nascent hydrogen production. Directly we are using molecular hydrogen and heating them in either nickel or platinum or palladium. Any one of these catalysts can be utilized, so that we end up having an alkane, and the halide will be removed as hydrogen halide. Okay. So this is about the second methods of preparation, that is the reduction of alkyl halides. First thing is using nascent hydrogen, we can directly convert, or using molecular hydrogen also we can do. For nascent hydrogen production, we have a lot of reagent, zinc plus dilute HCl, zinc plus acetic acid, or zinc coupled with copper in ethanol, like that, or lithium aluminium hydride, or sodium boron hydride, or TPH. Finally, each of these named reagents have their own exceptions part that we have seen. So this is about the reduction of alkyl halides, either using directly molecular hydrogen, like in this particular special reaction, or using the nascent hydrogen produced using any one of the above specified reagent. So this is second method of preparation of alkanes. So in the afternoon class, we will start Wood's reaction. So we will try to cover 2 more in the afternoon session. So one by one, we will try to see. So we require at least 7 to 8 classes for these alkanes. So probably by the end of this week, we can finish this part. And coming for the syllabus for this Saturday test and all, I will confirm once I get the information, probably tomorrow evening or by day after tomorrow's class. I will explain. I'll give you confirmation. All right. So that will be for today, Ma. We'll meet in the afternoon session. Same login details for study hours. So please make sure you're logged